Before we deal with support in Cura, let's talk about what it is in the real world and why we need it. Jude mentioned support when he was talking about materials and said that one of the materials, PVA, is used primarily as a support material. So what is support and why do we need it in 3D printing? Well, let's look at these blocks. This stack of blocks stands up on its own. Each block or layer is supported by the one underneath it. If I restack the blocks and I offset them ever so slightly, they'll still stay up because even though they're starting to hang over, enough of the block's weight is supported by the layer or block underneath. But if I stack them again and make the offset a little bit bigger, the blocks fall over. There is nothing underneath to support them and support their weight, so they fall over. The same thing is true of 3D printing. If you have a print or model that has any kind of overhang or area that is unsupported by layers underneath it, it will fall down while printing and you'll have a messed up print. So we need support. Support is simply the name for structures that hold up the parts of your print that are an overhang or have nothing underneath them while it's printing so that the model comes out right. Then, when the print is done, you can break off that support because the plastic is hardened and the support is no longer needed. Imagine you're printing a capital letter T. We know that 3D printers print layer by layer, starting at the bottom. So for the T, the printer would start with the bottom layer, the next layer would go right on top, and so on. All the layers would be building on top of what was below. But when we go to print the crossbar of the T, we have a problem. That crossbar extends into thin air. There's nothing to hold that layer up as it's printing, and without something to support it, the plastic spaghettis. That's where support comes in. In this T example, those beige blocks on either side were printed with the PVA support material we mentioned earlier. Now, when the printer starts printing the top of the T, the plastic has something to rest on while it hardens. We also could have just as easily printed the support materials in the same plastic as our model and snapped those off when the print was done as well. So support is needed to print any 3D model that has an overhang or part of it that is unsupported by the layers beneath it. Support is something you have to tell Cura to add, but Cura will try and tip you off. If there's a spot on your model that's an overhang, Cura will make it red as a warning that it needs support. If we look at the underside of the T, we see the whole thing is red. If we look at the Fox model, we see that the chin is red. Anything sticking out into the open air needs support. Ideally though, you can set up your model in such a way that it needs as little support as possible. With this T, for example, you could flip it upside down or print it flat on the plate. Then it wouldn't need support. A big part of the 3D printing process is finding the best orientation to print your model so it prints successfully. Rotating the model so there are no overhangs is a great solution that eliminates the need for support, which saves you printing time, material, and money, and ultimately results in a better and stronger print. Now that we know what support is and when it's needed, back to Cura.